Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cropper here with Onar, and we're going to do just a quick video here about a question Brian puts. He says, so why don't you push back on Cropper when he asserts that biologically Africans are backward and violent, while he also asserts that Chinese are smart and productive? Now, I just want to say that while we do have some surface level conjectural evidence for those things, I just want to say that it's really not that important, especially if you look at a case like North and South Korea. You have identical genetics. So how important are genetics? Now, maybe you can say that genetics lead to less violence for a huge region of humankind, and that's better over the long term. Possibly, but if genetics are really important, then you wouldn't see a huge difference between North and South Korea. So obviously ideas are what's really the important thing here. All right, I've done my best at defending myself. Onar, that'll have to stand as it is. What can you say on this?
Well, first, when we had our conversation, I had only watched half the video, so I didn't really talk about what you were saying so much. But after watching the second half, I sort of saw why some people reacted to this, why they have a spider senses out, that where is this going? Where are you going with this? So it's a very complicated issue. And it's easy to get lost in the facts and the statistics and the weeds of it. And it's really not for just people who drop by a simple discussion to have. And if you take like one snippet or one comment out of context, it can sound not so good. So therefore, I think, generally speaking, we can easily try to avoid talking in too much generality about this and that group and focus more on how biology is important to individuals, and particularly why, if biology is important, then ideas are really important, even more important than if biology was unimportant. So that would be my take on that. So I completely agree. I just with what you said about North and South Korea. I just want to add one thing. If you had a choice between adding like a 1 IQ point to yourself or to your population, or to go to capitalism, then you would choose capitalism every single time, because you get so much more juice and value and GDP per capita per freedom you introduce compared to what you get from IQ alone. I mean, just look at North Korea, which probably has one of the highest average IQs in the world, like 103 or something like that. What do they get out of their IQs when they have implemented such a bad and horrific system as they have?
And if we look at China and the staleness of Chinese society, the fact they invented the compass and they invented gunpowder and they had it for hundreds of years before Europe found it and did something with it. So IQ is a risk factor.
Yep. Indeed, absolutely. So the way I understood you were bringing up this just to make a very simple point, which is that groups are actually different, and statistically, but groups are just like you look at entire average of people acting like this, but you don't judge people based on groups. You judge people based on their individual characteristics. And then you don't care about the group characteristics. But if you just see one nation doing better than another nation, or one specific group, like men doing better than women at sports, then you're probably going to have some biology into it, or genetics. And that's fine, making that point. But when you're starting to pit one group against another, I can understand why people are like, oh, this is not going in a good direction. So, but I think I understand what you mean, and I also understand why people's spider senses were a little bit out. So we should probably be more explicit on making a good case that doesn't sound too creepy for some people.
Fair enough. All right, so I guess we can draw a line there. I think even if you can make a case that genetics and genes have something to do with it, it matters way less than ideas. And North and South Korea is my final case on that. And I've pushed back a little on you when you said culture is sticky for 7 generations, and I said, what about Hong Kong and Singapore? So,
That's a good point, and I'm always talking about the average case. Like on the default setting is that culture is sticky.
So so I was talking about the average or default civilization that's not. It's just out there doing its thing in mass numbers, and the Chinese are more peaceful and more prosperous. So.
Yeah.
What does that matter ultimately for the way we live our lives? Well, would you rather live in capitalism or in slavery? That's really the choice that we're trying to face as objectivists. We're not trying to get together like, okay, in America, if you could take all the colored people out or have freedom, what would you do? I would have freedom, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a ridiculous idea if you put it like that. Okay. You make a closing statement, then we'll draw a line for a short video here.
All right. St. Lucia, 95% black in Caribbeans. They have 15,000 GDP per capita. North Korea, not so much, like $5,000 per capita. And they are a super smart group of people. But the black Africans, 95% Africans, in St. Lucia, they do better than the North Koreans. So that's the power of ideas for you.
Right. So even if you can say 5 difference of IQ point in a huge group, still ideas are going to give you way, way more bang for your buck.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Genetics are not that important, ladies and gentlemen. So don't let the right tell you that they are, or the alt-right, the racists. Don't let the left tell you that genetics are important.
Alt-right are leftists who pretend that they are the right.
That's right. They are imposters. Okay. Done with this. Thank you.